Hi, my name is Denise Ortiz of MindBodyHealing.biz. Thanks so much for joining us today. As you know, I'd like to bring on as many people as I can to help to teach you, guide you, maybe that you can follow to get help, to get us through these crazy times. And even if you're having a wonderful time these days, we could all use a little help. And one of the things that most often we need help with is our energy. Now, we take our energy for granted. And I just don't mean I have enough energy to go out and run a marathon. I mean the energy that keeps our body moving, keeps us running, keeps us living every day. Sometimes it gets bogged down and we need a little assistance. Now, many of you may have heard of Reiki, okay? Now, Reiki is the Japanese art of healing and balancing the body. It's been around for over 100 years, and there's many different forms of Reiki. Now, what Reiki can do for you, you may not see immediately, like as you're taking a pill, you see the pill going down, then you expect it to work. With Reiki, it is energy healing coming from the healer being sent to you on an energetic level. And you feel it starting to work inside in the most magical ways. If you have not done Reiki, you really have to give it a try. And those who know Reiki saying, yes, I know how wonderful it feels after I've had a healing. So I'm bringing somebody on that's going to talk to you about Reiki right now. Now, she's located here in Ocean Isle Beach. Her name is Elizabeth Powell, and her business is Be the Light Wellness, like BEE. And all of her information you'll find at the end of this video and how you can contact her, get in touch with her. Now, Elizabeth is not only involved in Reiki, she is a Karuna Holy Fire Reiki master and teacher. She works with the Akashic Records as a healer. And she also is a past life regressionist. She also does a wonderful flute with a sound bath that I experienced at her grand opening the other day at her office, and it was so magical. She's got wonderful energy. She's got great information for us. And today she's going to talk to us about the divine feminine Reiki. And now I'd like to introduce you to Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. Tell us what you've got.
Hey, how are you? I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me on here to talk about this wonderful healing modality.
So
So,
the
yeah,
what is the difference between the, because people will ask first, Reiki versus divine feminine energy Reiki?
so the difference is some of the frequencies of what's held within divine feminine Reiki versus the traditional Usui or even holy fire Reiki. So divine feminine really empowers the individual to and focuses on releasing lower vibrational energies, especially emotional or mental energies. And it really helps to foster spiritual growth and higher consciousness through a very gentle, intuitive healing. So, its mission is to really transform pain into light and promoting a holistic well being and contributing to the collective healing of humanity as well. So, this may focus on healing, the root causes of fear for an individual or shame or guilt. And that can be whether it's in a past life, whether it was in the womb, maybe it's ancestral or you inherited that at birth, or even in your current present day life and things that you've experienced there too. And it also focuses a lot on inner child healing. So we do a lot of soul retrievals for the inner child within Divine Feminine Reiki, as well as cord cuttings. So, if we need to, uh, you know, take our power back from an individual or from a place or an entity, we can do that with Divine Feminine Reiki. Karuna Holy Fire Reiki focuses on, also deep transformative work. And I really loved Karuna Holy Fire Reiki because it helped to really speak to the shadow aspect that people have. We talk about shadow work, and Karuna is a Hawaiian word meaning compassion. So it's important for us, if we're going to work with our shadows, to have compassion towards those parts of ourselves. And that is what Karuna Holy Fire Reiki does. So just a little different nuanced frequencies there.
So, what would you describe a session at if somebody's coming into you for the first time to do this type of work? What would they be expecting in a session?
Yeah. So with Divine Feminine Reiki, what I personally do is, we sit down and we talk about what the person is needing help with. So I usually tend to ask them, like, okay, like, what's bringing you in? Is there something like emotional? Like, are you feeling emotionally overwhelmed, or is there a particular situation with another person? And so as they're talking, because I'm also an intuitive, so working in the Akashic field. So as they're talking and sharing either a past event or a current, something going on, what I'm doing is I'm reading their energy, because as you're speaking about it, you start to connect and emote out those emotional frequencies, and I can pick up on like where we need to go, either in the body, in the energy field, or what we need to focus on through Divine Feminine Reiki, whether it is that inner child healing or ancestral healing or cord cutting, whatever it may be. So we sit down and we chat about that. And I intuitively go in and read the person's energy to see where we need to go. And then they lay it on a massage table, just like you would, in traditional forms, and you relax. But traditional Reiki is usually silent, where we allow the practitioner to move the energy, and the person is laying on the table relaxing. Divine Feminine Reiki can be that if it needs to be, but it's not always silent. Meaning, if we need to do the inner child work, then I'm going to lead you through some meditative style, um, you know, journeys, almost like meditative journeys, or for some people, depending on, you know, what they spiritually can do, it may be an astral projection for them. But it's guided, it's gentle, and we go in and we journey back to those moments and we shift the energy of what's happened in the past. We can't change what's happened, but if we can shift those emotional or even thought formed type of energies, then it can, upgrade our cells and our body to receive that to receive that shift, and it changes how it affects you now.
Right. So let me ask, so would it also be doing something like just changing the perspective on it, or we're actually moving the energy? Is more body or mind or a combination of both?
Yeah, combination of both. And it really depends on, the person's individual needs. So, for example, like if we were to go, like, let's say we're going to do an inner child healing through Divine Feminine Reiki, and I lead you back to, a moment where maybe you had your first experience in this life where you did not feel comfortable expressing yourself, using your voice and feeling authentic. We would go back to that moment, even if you don't are not consciously aware of what that moment is. I'm able to guide you and have your subconscious to lead you there. And, you're observing, but you're also, going back to that moment, you're connecting with that younger version of you, and having a conversation with that younger version of you, and asking them, like, okay, like, what do you need in this moment that you were not getting in the past? And we give that younger version of you what they needed. Okay. And that's the part that shifts the energy. And it could be the body. Sometimes the body holds on to that emotional energy, and it gets expressed as pain in the body. So it could help with a physical issue. But it usually does help with like an emotional, mental, or spiritual issue. And then we come back. Then sometimes, if we're going to do an inner child retrieval, that part of you that's stuck in the past has free will. So those parts of you may or may not choose to come back with you. But if they do, then we usually allow that inner child to fuse into your heart so that it can stay in this new place, getting what that version of you always needs at any time.
Oh, okay. That sounds wonderful. So we can reach back and kind of fix the things that need fixing.
Yeah.
And with your intuitive gifts, you're able to go in and help them to find it as well, right? Bringing that energy about.
Yes. Yeah. And so I like to combine my divine feminine Reiki sessions with the Akashic records because, by doing that, I'm going into your Akashic field and actually talking to your guides and to your higher self and saying, what is ready to be released? What is ready to be healed? What can we do? Because, you know, some of the issues that we have is karmic. We're learning a lesson with these kinds of things. So it's not necessarily needed all the time to quickly remove something, to allow our souls what we need to learn, what we signed up to learn. But there may be something that we can clear that can help with that situation that's ready to be cleared. And, our guides in our Akashic records are beings of unconditional love, and they helped you plan out your life. And so they really care about your healing. They don't want you to bypass anything to take away from the healing that you signed up for. So, kind of combining the Akashic records and the guides there, as well as, you know, what you're ready to release and what you feel like you need to, like everybody's working together.
Right, because also everything is just in, divine timing, because maybe you need
Yes.
to hold on to that for a little longer without realizing it because you still have to experience something with someone else or someplace else or for some purpose to move you to where you need to go, right?
Right. Yes.
And let me ask you, just for those that are watching that may not know, could you explain just a little bit about the Akashic records?
Yeah, so the Akashic Records is a multi-dimensional field that is in the fifth dimension and above. And I always make sure people understand that because um, the fifth dimensions and above are those places of unconditional love. And there's some, beliefs out there that it's just a fifth dimensional plane. And that's not true. It exists on so many different planes. Um, and there are different guides that are there within the Akashic records there to help you. And they're known as some of the ascended masters. So people like Jesus Christ or Buddha, Mary Magdalene, you know, people that we would kind of recognize like that. And then you have the teachers. Teachers are going to be ones that they're a little bit more mysterious group because they don't have those, famous people that we may recognize, but they may be people like a spirit guide or angels, you know. Um, Spirit animals are a good example of a possible teacher within your Akashic records. Even past life versions of you or future versions of you may be in the teacher realm of your records. And then there's loved ones. And it's not just, loved ones as in, people that have passed on from your family. It could be a third grade teacher that you loved and resonated with that decided to be in your records. It's people that you know. But the Akashic Records helps people to really find clarity and understanding and alignment for what they're needing. And we can do so many different things within the records. They hold everything,
It's
you
it's
know.
it's it's our whole life DNA footprint, all of those things, well, everything involved since beginning of time, even though there is no time, but it's
Exactly.
definitely connected to each person's soul.
Yes, yes. So I always tell people the easiest way to think of the Akashic records is if you are, familiar with Christianity, they talk about the book of life. That is the same thing as the Akashic records. It holds all of your soul's experiences, whether that's thoughts, traumas, joys, everything. Not just this life, but past life and lives not on this planet, on different, star systems. But ever since the soul left source, it keeps a record of what you've experienced. And we can go in and read that and look at that or clear things if we need to, that's ready to be cleared. And it's very, very profound and it's changed my life. I absolutely love working in the records.
Yeah, and let me ask you too, how did you become involved with Reiki and all of the work that you're doing? Because like you said, it's a combination of a lot of things that you put
Yeah.
together for healing. How did you first get involved with this?
So around COVID, I discovered Reiki. And I think I was watching it on a television show and they were talking about it. And I thought, I really would love to try that. And so I, got on my computer and I looked up, Reiki healers in the area and there wasn't any where I'm from. And so I had to drive probably I think a couple hours. Yeah, I think it was about 2 hours to get to a Reiki healer. And I had my first session. But what made me seek it out was whenever I saw it on the TV, was they talked about how it healed trauma and helped with, energy and, finding peace. And I personally have dealt with, religious trauma, with, sexual trauma. And I was in a place where I realized I was like, I need help. And traditional methods are great, but it really was not giving me the edge that I was searching for. So I did Reiki in conjunction with traditional therapies and it was the very thing that helped me to really let go and to dive deeper into knowing myself in ways that I would have never been able to otherwise.
Right. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing all that with us. I do appreciate that. Yeah, because sometimes people aren't sure too, like, those that know Reiki can understand more of what you're saying. Those that are new to it, that are watching this for the first time, now maybe have a little more of an understanding of what Reiki's capable of doing for you, as long as you want these things healed or that thing resolved or that energy changed. How much of a willingness also does the person coming in have to be involved? Like, for example, when I do hypnosis, if somebody would send their husband over and say, go to her, you need to stop smoking or you need to go on a diet. And they would come in very reluctant saying, go ahead, do your thing to me because they said I have to. And I say, no, 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 you have to be willing, able, and wanting this. Is it similar with Reiki?
I would say yes. I mean, to me, what I've seen, Reiki works whether you believe or not, but you do have to be open and willing to accept the help that Reiki offers. I think to really help it kind of anchor in and settle in and really make a difference for the person. And it's not that Reiki doesn't work otherwise. It's that it's really the person accepting and bringing that in and allowing it to integrate versus being closed off to it.
Right. So this way, just by accepting and wanting the energy, it can work. They don't have to prepare. They don't have to understand completely. They don't have to study. They can just accept that you're the healer and you're bringing this type of healing to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of people always, whenever they come to Reiki sessions and maybe they feel things or sensations or they're asking me like, what did you feel? And while I love to explain that to them to the best of my ability, you know, for me as a healer, it's like if you're interested or curious about that, I want you to discover that for yourself. Like sit down and, think about that for a little bit and what that meant to you and how it helped you, kind of connect the dots in that way. And it helps you connect to your intuition too. So that's why I like to to do that for clients and even students.
Yeah, that's great. I know because I think we all have a tendency to say, well, what do you see for me? Instead of us
Yes.
trying
Yeah.
to see for ourselves, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not uncommon. That's not uncommon. Yeah. So, just as we wrap up, is there any other hints or tips or advice that you're like to share with people regarding the Reiki, and especially with the divine feminine Reiki?
Yeah, I let me kind of explain what divine feminine is, because I know that those might not be terms that people don't recognize. So whenever we say divine feminine or divine masculine, that's not gender specific. That's more talking about the type of energies that we have within us. So you have that more feminine, nurturing, compassionate, more intuitive type of energy. It's very creative, very cyclical, um, you know, very much, just that like your mothering type of energy. Okay. And then you have the masculine also, where, we're always stuck in our masculine as a society, where we're going and we're doing and we need to be active, you know, um, that busy bee type of energy is the masculine. But yeah, divine feminine represents that universal timeless energy that's embodying those qualities of nurturing and compassionate and intuitive. And it's something that's within everybody, man, woman, it does not matter. Um, but, divine feminine really, really brings a different type of energy to the individual. Like this is about going within in a deeper way than traditional styles. And and how do you nurture that part of you? How do you nurture your shadows? Not just clear stuff and just, you know, be done with it. It's how do I understand it and actually integrate it into wisdom and embody it, you know? Um, so if as far as tips, I would always tell people, you know, if you're looking for a Reiki healer, it's important to resonate with your healer. So definitely, I tell people shop around, you know, read about their about me section or read about their offers, because everybody does something different. Reach out and, ask them questions. And questions that I would ask a healer is, the number one question I would ask is, how often do you do this on yourself? What is your self practice? I want a healer that is going to be doing this for themselves. And it's very important as a healer to be doing that self work to, maintain the integrity of your practice. And then I also would ask, like, how long have you been doing this? What got you into it? Things like you asked me. Um, and then the other tip that I would say or give you is set an intention. Like, it's okay to set an intention for your healing session, to have an idea of what you would like to see or how you would like to feel, and then release the expectation of how you're supposed to receive that, you know?
Mm.
So, because we always have this idea of like, oh, well, I want to feel, calm, but then you go lay on the table and you couldn't get your brain to shut off. Okay. And so sometimes it takes time for the body to catch up to what's happened energetically, spiritually. So allowing yourself time to, you know, and patience
Gotcha. A
in
little
the
time to
session.
prepare for the session and a little time to absorb or just kind of process what happens after the session, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you so much, Elizabeth, for coming on and explaining about, the divine feminine Reiki and letting everybody know all the different things that are and can be done, and just a process of healing your body, your mind, your soul. And like you said, it's also healing part of the collective consciousness, because the more of us who can embrace this type of way of being one with the whole universe. And if everyone was calm, if every child meditated, if everyone was feeling love, and I just don't mean the romantic love, which is nice, but just the love and compassion and gratitude for each other, things would be so much better. But we start with ourselves. We start here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something in this practice I've learned. For me, I've learned, especially even working in the Akashic records, that you know, love is a choice and you have to choose to love yourself every day. And some days that takes work and other days it's easier. But, it's a choice every day. And it's an important choice that should be at the forefront of everybody's spiritual journey and healing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today. And for those who are interested in finding out more about Elizabeth, please check at the end. I'll have all of her contact information there. And also, if you enjoy this video on this podcast, please just like and comment below and subscribe to the channel. Pass it on to people that may be looking for some answers. We're here to help and share as much as we can. And we're lucky to have people like Elizabeth to come on and share this information to help you and help us all. So I'd like to thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Denise Ortiz of mindbodyhealing.biz. Have a great day, and just remember, just keep your energy in check, please. Just give yourself the time you need. Okay? Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.